They tried to steal her horse. The cowboy rode in fast enough to stop the shot. Clara lived in a small town surrounded by open fields and rolling hills. Her life was simple, but it was full of joy. Each day she would wake up just as the sun began to rise, when the sky was painted in shades of pink and orange. She loved those quiet mornings, the ones where the world seemed to hold its breath for just a little while. But what she loved most was spending time with her horse, Silver. Silver was not just a horse to Clara. He was her friend, her companion, and in many ways her family. From the moment she first saw him as a foal, she had known there was something special about him. He had soft silver fur that shone in the sunlight, and his eyes were gentle, yet full of intelligence. He seemed to understand Clara in a way that no one else did. Every morning Clara would walk down to the stable, greeting Silver with a soft voice and a gentle touch. She would brush his coat carefully, making sure every spot was clean. She would check his hooves, tighten his saddle, and adjust the reins, all while talking to him softly. "Ready for today, Silver?" she would ask, and he would nuzzle her shoulder as if to say yes. There was a rhythm to their routine, a quiet harmony that Clara cherished. It made her feel safe and grounded, even when the world outside was uncertain. This particular morning the air was crisp and fresh. Clara felt a sense of calm as she led Silver out of the stable into the open fields. The grass was still wet with dew, sparkling like tiny diamonds in the early sunlight. Birds were singing in the trees, and the soft hum of nature surrounded them. Clara climbed onto Silver's back with ease. She loved riding through the open fields because it made her feel free, like nothing in the world could stop her. As they rode, she let Silver pick his own pace, allowing him to trot and canter wherever he wanted. She trusted him completely, and he trusted her in return. It was a bond built on years of care, respect, and understanding. As they moved farther from the town, Clara noticed that the air felt different. There was a stillness she hadn't felt before, a quiet tension that made the hairs on her arms stand up. Powers. She glanced around, scanning the fields and the distant tree line. Everything looked the same, but somehow it felt off. Clara shrugged it off at first, thinking perhaps it was just her imagination. But then she saw something that made her pause. Near the edge of the trees, just beyond the fence, there were footprints she didn't recognize. They were fresh, and they led in the direction of her stable. Her heart beat a little faster. She knew that people sometimes wandered near her property, but these tracks felt different. They weren't casual. They were deliberate, as if someone had been watching her. Clara's mind raced. Who could be out here so early? And why were they leaving tracks near her stable? She tightened her grip on the reins, feeling Silver shift beneath her. He seemed to sense her unease and lowered his head slightly, a sign that he was alert too. Clara decided to head back toward the stable, keeping her eyes on the tracks as they disappeared into the grass. She moved slowly, not wanting to startle Silver or make the unknown person aware of her presence. Each step felt heavier than the last, and a quiet worry settled over her. When they reached the stable, Clara took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Everything seemed normal, but the uneasy feeling lingered. She checked the doors and locks, making sure nothing was out of place. Silver nickered softly, as if trying to reassure her. Clara stroked his neck and whispered, "It's okay, Silver. We're safe here." But even as she spoke, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been close, watching them, waiting for the right moment. She tried to push the thought away, focusing instead on her morning routine. She fed Silver, giving him his favorite oats, and cleaned the stable with extra care. Her hands were busy, but her mind was elsewhere, alert to any unusual sound or movement. After finishing her chores, Clara decided to take Silver on a short ride along the familiar trail behind the stable. This was the path she had taken hundreds of times before, and she knew every turn and hill. She hoped that by sticking to the known route, she could calm her nerves. As they walked along the trail, the morning sun grew stronger, casting long shadows across the field. Clara's eyes scanned the edges of the trees again. The footprints were gone, but the feeling of being watched remained. She wondered if it was just her imagination, but deep down, she knew it wasn't. Something had changed, and she couldn't ignore it. Clara tried to focus on Silver's movements. He trotted happily, ears flicking as he listened to the sounds of the morning. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of wildflowers and fresh grass. For a moment, Clara allowed herself to relax, enjoying the peacefulness of the ride, but the uneasy feeling returned almost immediately. She noticed a broken branch on the path ahead, one that hadn't been there before. It was small, barely noticeable, but to someone like Clara who knew the trail intimately, it stood out, brass. Her heart quickened. Someone had been here, and they were close. She knew she had to stay calm, but the tension was growing with each passing second. As they continued along the trail, Clara spotted movement in the distance. At first, it was just a flicker of motion between the trees, but then it became clear that someone was there. Two figures were partially hidden, watching her. Her stomach tightened, and a chill ran down her spine. Clara knew she couldn't run. There was no one around to help her. She needed to think quickly. She guided Silver closer to the center of the path, keeping him between herself and the strangers. Her mind raced, trying to figure out what to do. She had grown up in this town, and she knew the people who lived here. But these figures were strangers. Whoever they were, their intentions were unclear, and that uncertainty made the situation more dangerous. Clara's instincts told her to stay calm and not make sudden movements. She had always believed that panic only made things worse. Silver seemed to sense her tension and moved cautiously, ears pointed forward. Clara whispered to him softly, "We'll be okay, Silver. Just stay close." The figures didn't approach, but their presence was enough to make Clara uneasy. She wondered if they were thieves, or maybe just curious onlookers, but the fact that they had been near her stable earlier made her worry. Something wasn't right, and she knew she had to be prepared for anything. Desk. As they turned back toward the stable, Clara kept a careful eye on the strangers. She noticed that one of them carried something that looked like a rope, and her heart sank. The possibilities ran through her mind, each one more alarming than the last. She tightened her grip on the reins, ready to act if necessary. Desk. Silver seemed alert as well, muscles tense beneath her hands. Clara knew she had to be cautious. She couldn't let them get close to Silver, not when he was everything to her. She also realized that calling for help wasn't an option. The town was quiet at this hour, and the distance from neighbors was too far. It was just her and Silver, and they had to rely on each other. Back at the stable, Clara made sure the doors were secure again. She double-checked the latches and reinforced the gates, making sure there was no easy way for anyone to get inside. Silver nuzzled her hand, sensing her worry.
She patted him gently and said, "We'll be all right, boy."
"We just have to stay careful." Her voice was steady, but inside she felt the tension building. She knew that something was coming, something she wasn't expecting. The calm morning had shifted into an uneasy anticipation, like the quiet before a storm. Clara didn't know what the day would bring, but she was determined to protect Silver, no matter what. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher in the sky. Clara stayed near the stable, keeping Silver close. She cleaned the tools and swept the area around the barn, all while staying alert. She listened for any unusual sounds, the snap of a branch, the rustle of leaves, the faintest footstep. Every small noise made her heart race, but she refused to panic. Clara had learned that staying calm was the best way to handle danger. She also realized that her bond with Silver was her greatest strength. They trusted each other completely, and that trust gave her courage she didn't know she had. As the morning turned to midday, Clara began to feel a mix of relief and anxiety. She hadn't seen the strangers again, but she couldn't forget the footprints or the flicker of movement between the trees. Something had changed, and she knew her day would not be ordinary. She decided to rest for a moment, leaning against the stable and letting Silver graze nearby. She stroked his mane and whispered softly to him, sharing her thoughts and fears. Silver nickered in response, a sound that seemed to reassure her. For now they were safe, but Clara knew that safety could not last forever. The day stretched on, quiet but tense. Clara continued her chores, each movement careful and deliberate. She felt a growing awareness of the world beyond her peaceful routine, a sense that life could change in an instant. She thought about the people who might be watching, wondering what they wanted and why they had chosen her and Silver. Questions swirled in her mind, but she focused on what she could control, keeping Silver close, staying alert, and being ready for whatever might come. By the time the sun began to lower in the sky, Clara realized that this morning had marked a shift in her life. The peaceful routine she had always known had been broken, replaced by a sense of vigilance and anticipation. She knew that the bond with Silver was more important than ever, that their connection would help them face whatever challenges lay ahead. And though she didn't yet know what was coming, she felt a quiet determination growing inside her, a resolve to protect her friend, her companion in her life and the world she loved so deeply. Clara had been watching Silver graze peacefully near the stable when a sudden movement in the corner of her eye made her stiffen. The peaceful rhythm of the morning was gone, replaced by a tension that made her pulse quicken. From behind a small grove of trees, she could see two figures creeping toward the stable. They moved carefully, trying not to make noise. But Clara's heart recognized the danger before her eyes fully confirmed it. She knew immediately that these were the strangers from the footprints she had seen earlier. Her stomach tightened, and a shiver ran down her spine. She tried to stay calm. Panicking would not help, and she needed to think quickly. She glanced down at Silver, who had noticed the movement too. His ears were pricked forward, and he shifted slightly, ready to react. Clara felt a surge of protectiveness. Silver was not just a horse. He was her friend, her companion, and she would not let anyone harm him. She whispered softly to him. "Stay close, boy. We'll get through this together." Silver nickered in response, as if he understood the gravity of the situation. That simple sound gave Clara a small measure of courage. The strangers crept closer, carrying ropes in their hands. Their movements were deliberate, calculated, and Clara could feel their intention clearly. They wanted Silver. She had known this was a possibility, but seeing it unfold before her eyes was terrifying. She gripped the reins tightly, her hands steady despite the fear that threatened to rise inside her. She had to find a way to protect Silver, and fast. She looked around, searching for anything that could help her. The stable was nearby, and the open field stretched behind her. She realized that she had two choices: fight for Silver right there, or try to put distance between him and the strangers. Before she could make a decision, one of the strangers stepped forward, trying to grab Silver's reins. Silver reacted immediately, throwing his head back and stomping his hooves. Clara's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "No! Stay back!" she shouted. Her voice startled the intruders, but it didn't stop them. They were determined, and now they realized that Clara was not going to surrender without a fight. Her heart pounded in her chest as adrenaline surged through her veins. She held Silver firmly, leaning back slightly to maintain her balance as he pulled against the ropes. The second stranger, seeing that their first attempt had failed, reached for a small handgun hidden in his jacket. Clara's eyes widened, and fear shot through her like lightning. She had never been so close to danger in her life. Silver sensed her fear and tensed beneath her, ready to bolt at the slightest command. Clara knew that any sudden movement could provoke the intruders, but she also understood that staying passive might put both her and Silver at risk. She needed to act quickly, but carefully. Her mind raced, trying to think of a way to protect herself and her horse without escalating the situation further. The first intruder lunged again, trying to grab Silver, but Clara was faster this time. She twisted her body, guiding Silver away from the ropes and using his strength to put distance between them. The horse galloped a few steps forward, keeping a safe space between them and the thieves. Clara's heart was racing, but she kept her voice steady. "Silver, slow down. Stay with me." Her calm, firm tone helped Silver control his movements, and together they maintained a careful distance. The thieves cursed under their breath, frustrated that their plan was not going as smoothly as they had hoped.
Clara's mind worked furiously.
Desk. She realized that if the stranger succeeded in scaring Silver too much, he could bolt uncontrollably, putting both of them in even greater danger. She needed to protect him without giving the intruders an opportunity to strike. She scanned the area and noticed the gate of the stable was slightly ajar. If she could maneuver Silver closer to it, she might be able to put a barrier between them and the thieves. She gently nudged Silver, guiding him toward the stable, all while keeping her eyes on the strangers. Each step was tense, and every sound in the field made her flinch. She knew that one wrong move could change everything in an instant. The thieves, realizing that Clara was not easily intimidated, became bolder. The one with the gun raised it slightly, aiming at her. Clara's stomach dropped, and her mind froze for a moment. The situation had escalated beyond her control, and fear threatened to overwhelm her. But then she looked into Silver's eyes and felt a surge of determination. Breaths. She would not let anyone harm him. She tightened her grip on the reins and took a deep breath, focusing on staying calm and alert. Every fiber of her being was tuned to the present moment, to the danger around her, and to the horse she loved so dearly. Just as the intruder was about to make a move, a loud, sharp sound echoed through the field. Both Clara and the thieves froze. From a distance, the sound of hooves pounding the ground grew louder. Clara's heart leapt with hope and fear at the same time. Could it be someone coming to help? She squinted toward the horizon and saw a figure approaching at incredible speed, riding a strong, steady horse. It was a cowboy, known in town for his quick reflexes and skill with horses. His eyes were fixed on the scene before him, and he urged his horse forward with urgency. Clara's pulse quickened. Help had arrived, but the danger was still very real. The thieves noticed the cowboy too. They cursed and hesitated, unsure of what to do next. The first intruder tightened his grip on the gun, but it was clear that the approaching rider was not ordinary. The cowboy's horse galloped with incredible speed, weaving through the field with precision. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she remained vigilant. The intruders were desperate, and desperate people could do anything. She held Silver firmly, preparing for whatever would come next. As the cowboy closed in, the intruders panicked. They realized that their attempt to steal Silver was about to fail. One of them shouted, warning the other to run, but it was too late. The cowboy reached them with incredible timing, positioning his horse between Clara and the strangers. The first intruder, startled by the sudden appearance, dropped the rope he was holding. The second intruder raised the gun, but the cowboy acted with skill and precision, using his presence to force the weapon downward. The tension in the air was palpable, every second stretching into what felt like hours. Clara felt her knees weaken, but she held Silver steady. The cowboy's arrival had changed everything. The intruders were now on the defensive, unsure of how to proceed. The cowboy spoke firmly, his voice calm but commanding. "Ha ha 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 ha! Step away!" Now. The intruders hesitated, glancing at each other nervously. It was clear they had not expected anyone to intervene, and certainly not someone with the skill and courage to do so. The fear that had gripped her moments before began to lift, replaced by relief and admiration for the man who had arrived just in time. The intruders made a final desperate attempt to grab Silver, but it was futile. Cowboy's horse moved with precision, cutting off their path and leaving no opportunity for attack. Clara guided Silver closer to the stable, where she could keep him safe. The intruders realized they were beaten and slowly retreated, muttering threats that Clara could barely hear. She kept her eyes on them until they disappeared from sight, making sure they would not return. Only when the danger was fully gone did she allow herself to relax, leaning against Silver and letting out a long breath she hadn't realized she had been holding. The cowboy dismounted and approached Clara cautiously. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. Clara nodded, still catching her breath. "Yes, thanks to you," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. She patted Silver's neck, grateful that he was unharmed. The cowboy smiled gently, brushing dust from his coat. "He's a fine horse," he said. "You've done well to keep him safe." Clara felt a mix of relief and pride. The danger had been real, but she had stayed calm, relied on her bond with Silver, and now, with the cowboy's help, they were safe. As they stood together, Clara realized how quickly life could change. One moment the morning had been peaceful and calm. The next she had faced real danger. Yet in that chaos, she had found courage she didn't know she possessed, and she had seen the value of community and bravery in action. Silver nuzzled her hand, sensing the calm that had returned. Clara looked at the cowboy and smiled, silently thanking him for his timely intervention. She knew that she and Silver had narrowly escaped harm, and that the morning's events would remain in her memory forever. The rest of the day passed quietly, with Clara and Silver staying close to the stable. The adrenaline slowly faded, leaving behind a mixture of relief and lingering tension. Clara reflected on the morning's events, realizing that she had been lucky, but also that she had learned valuable lessons about courage, vigilance, and trust. She knew that she could never take her safety, or Silver's, for granted again. And she also knew that sometimes help comes in unexpected ways and at the perfect moment. By evening, Clara felt a renewed sense of connection with Silver. Their bond had been tested and had emerged even stronger. Whilst she led him to the stable, brushing him carefully and speaking softly. "We made it, Silver." "We're safe," she whispered. Silver nickered softly, resting his head against her shoulder. Clara smiled, feeling a warmth that only comes from facing danger and coming through it together. The sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the field, and Clara felt a quiet sense of peace. For now, they were safe, but she knew that the memory of this day would remain with her forever. Clara's heart was still pounding as she watched the two strangers retreat into the distance. The adrenaline of the morning's chaos had left her shaken, but seeing them flee gave her a small sense of relief. Silver stood quietly beside her, his ears flicking back and forth, alert to any sudden sound. Clara patted his neck gently. "You are amazing, boy," she whispered. "We made it through!" But even as she spoke, she knew they were not yet entirely safe. Those men had come with a purpose, and she had to be certain they would not return. She looked toward the direction they had gone, scanning the horizon for any sign of their return. The cowboy who had come to their rescue dismounted gracefully, his horse standing patiently beside him. He approached Clara slowly, his eyes calm and observant. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Clara shook her head, trying to steady her trembling hands.
"No, I'm fine, thanks to you," she replied, her voice soft but sincere.
She could see the kindness in his eyes, mixed with the quiet confidence of someone who knew how to handle danger.
He smiled faintly.
You're lucky I was nearby. Those men weren't messing around. Clara nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and admiration. She had faced fear before, but never like this. The cowboy's gaze shifted toward the intruder's tracks, now faint in the soft earth. He studied them carefully, his trained eyes noticing details Clara could never have seen. "They went that way," he said, pointing toward a thin line of trees at the edge of the field. "They won't get far, not with the way you kept Silver calm. But we should be cautious." Clara listened intently. The thought that they might try again made her stomach tighten, but the cowboy's presence was reassuring. She realized she wasn't alone, and that gave her a sense of strength she hadn't felt before. Breath. Silver shifted beneath her, sensing the tension in the air. Clara placed a comforting hand on his mane. "It's okay, Silver. We're okay for now," she murmured. The cowboy nodded, understanding the silent communication between Clara and her horse. "He's a smart horse," he said. "And you handle him well? That bond you have?" "It's rare. It's what saved him today." Clara felt a warm pride swell in her chest. The morning had been terrifying, but in some ways it had proven how strong her connection with Silver really was. The cowboy glanced around the field and then back at Clara. "We need to make sure they don't come back," he said. "Those men didn't expect anyone to stop them, and they might try again if they think they can get another chance." Clara nodded. "What should we do?" she asked, her voice steady despite the lingering fear. The cowboy's expression became serious. "We need to secure the area and be ready. I'll stay with you until the sun sets just to make sure they don't return." Clara felt a deep sense of relief. Having someone with experience and skill by her side made the danger seem less overwhelming. They walked together toward the stable, checking the gates and latches carefully. Clara explained how she usually kept Silver secure and the routes she often rode. The cowboy listened attentively, nodding at the details. "You've done a good job so far," he said.
"But we'll make it even safer. I want to move Silver to a more secure part of the stable and make sure all the exits are covered."
"That way they can't get to him without us knowing." Clara followed his instructions, feeling reassured by his confidence and calm. Together they worked quickly, making small adjustments that would protect Silver and the property. As they finished securing the stable, Clara felt a quiet sense of determination growing inside her. The morning had been terrifying, but she was not going to let fear control her life. She looked at Silver, who nuzzled her hand, and whispered, "We're safe, but we'll stay ready." The cowboy gave a small smile. "Good thinking. Awareness is half the battle."
"You've got both brains and courage, Clara. That combination is powerful."
But Clara blushed slightly at the compliment but felt it was true. The events of the morning had tested her in ways she had never imagined, but she had learned how capable she could be in moments of danger. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the heat of the day began to rise. The cowboy suggested they take Silver for a short walk to stretch his legs and calm him down after the tense morning. Clara agreed, leading him out of the stable. They moved slowly, keeping the horse between themselves and any possible danger. As they walked, Clara asked the cowboy about himself, curious about the man who had arrived at precisely the right moment. He told her he had grown up in a nearby ranching family and had learned to ride from a very young age. He had always known the importance of quick action and courage, especially when animals were involved. Clara listened, fascinated. His calm confidence and experience were reassuring, and she felt grateful to have someone so capable by her side. As they moved along the edge of the field, the cowboy explained how he would help Clara in case the intruders tried to return. He suggested that they place a few small markers and check the perimeter regularly. It's unlikely they'll come back once they realize you're not alone, he said.
But it's better to be safe. Animals can sense danger before we do, and so can people who know what to look for. Clara nodded, taking in his advice carefully.
She appreciated his practical approach and realized how much she could learn from someone who had faced danger before. The fear from earlier began to fade slightly, replaced by a sense of empowerment. Suddenly, Silver's ears flicked forward sharply, and he shifted beneath Clara. She followed his gaze and saw movement at the far edge of the field. Her heart leapt, but the cowboy placed a hand on her shoulder to steady her. "It's probably just a small animal," he said calmly, but he didn't move forward. Clara watched closely, her mind alert. Sure enough, it was a deer darting across the field, disappearing into the woods. She exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of relief and embarrassment at how tense she had been. The cowboy chuckled lightly. "Better safe than sorry," he said. Clara nodded, realizing that her caution was a strength, not a weakness. They continued to walk Silver around the stable area, checking every fence and gate. The cowboy showed Clara a few techniques to secure the latches more firmly and even suggested small adjustments that would prevent anyone from sneaking close unnoticed. Clara was impressed by his knowledge and skill.
I never thought about doing it that way, she admitted.
"It makes so much sense now," the cowboy smiled. "Experience teaches you a lot. But you did great this morning. You stayed calm and protected your horse. That's what really matters." Clara felt a wave of pride. Despite the danger, she had handled herself well, and Silver had stayed safe because of her. As the afternoon passed, Clara and the cowboy took breaks, sitting in the shade of a large tree near the stable. They watched Silver graze quietly, enjoying the calm after the storm. Clara felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced all day. She realized how much she had learned about trust, courage, and the bond between humans and animals. The cowboy shared stories of his own experiences, tales of riding through dangerous situations and learning to think quickly. Clara listened intently, absorbing every word. She felt inspired by his bravery and experience, and it gave her confidence that she could handle future challenges as well. Evening approached and the sky began to turn shades of orange and pink. The cowboy helped Clara prepare Silver for the night, ensuring he was secure and comfortable in the stable. Clara thanked him repeatedly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I don't know what would have happened without you," she said sincerely. The cowboy smiled gently. "You would have been fine. You were brave and smart. I just arrived at the right time. That's all."
Clara shook her head.
"No, it was more than that. You saved us both." He laughed softly, a warm sound that eased the tension of the day. Before leaving, the cowboy gave Clara a few final pieces of advice. He suggested she stay vigilant for a few days, keep Silver close, and not hesitate to call for help if anything seemed unusual. Clara nodded, taking in every word. She felt stronger now, not just because of the cowboy's help, but because she had faced real danger and come through it. Boss Silver nuzzled her hand, sensing the calm and strength returning to her. Together they watched the sunset, feeling the peace of the evening settle around them. Clara reflected on the day's events. She realized how quickly life could change and how important it was to stay alert and prepared. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and more connected to Silver than ever before. The cowboy's timely intervention had shown her the importance of community and the value of experience. And most importantly, she had seen how courage, quick thinking, and trust in one's companion could make all the difference in a moment of crisis. As night fell, Clara secured Silver in the stable, checking the gates and latches one last time, patted him gently, whispering, "We're safe, Silver, and we'll stay safe." Silver nickered softly, resting his head against her shoulder. Clara felt a deep sense of gratitude and relief. The morning's danger had passed, but the lessons she learned would stay with her forever. She knew that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. And she knew that with Silver by her side, she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The stars began to appear in the sky, and Clara stepped back from the stable, taking a moment to breathe in the quiet night peace of accomplishment and of readiness. Today had tested her in ways she never expected, but she had survived, protected Silver, and grown stronger because of it. Tomorrow might bring new challenges, but for tonight, she and Silver were safe, and that was enough. The morning after the frightening events, Clara woke to the soft glow of the rising sun. The quiet of the town seemed normal, almost peaceful, yet Clara knew that yesterday's danger had changed something inside her. She sat by Silver's stall, running her hands along his soft silver coat. He nickered softly, as if acknowledging that he too had sensed the tension of the past day. Clara whispered, "Good morning, boy. We're safe again." She took a deep breath, feeling the comfort of routine yet aware that things would never feel completely ordinary after what had happened. Clara went about her morning chores carefully, her movements deliberate and steady. She brushed Silver, checking his hooves, and refilled his water and feed. She noticed that even the small everyday tasks seemed different now. Each movement carried a sense of purpose, a careful mindfulness she hadn't felt before. Yesterday had taught her how quickly life could change, and she understood that being prepared was not just about physical readiness, but about staying alert and aware at all times. Breath. She kept glancing toward the fence lines and open fields, imagining the intruders might return, but she also reminded herself that they had likely retreated far away. By mid-morning, word of the attempted theft had spread through the small town. Neighbors arrived one by one to check on Clara and Silver. They were curious and concerned, asking questions about what had happened. Clara explained the events as calmly as she could, describing how the intruders had tried to steal Silver and how the cowboy had arrived just in time to prevent disaster. The townspeople listened with wide eyes, their expressions a mix of shock and admiration. Clara felt a quiet pride as she recounted the story. Despite her fear, she had stayed strong and had protected Silver. Their bond had kept them both safe. The cowboy, Jake, also returned briefly to make sure everything was secure. The neighbors had been gathering around the stable, and he spoke to them about the importance of vigilance and community. "It's easy to underestimate the dangers around us," he said, "but paying attention, being prepared, and acting quickly can make all the difference." Clara did exactly the right thing by staying calm and protecting her horse. The crowd murmured in agreement, and Clara felt a warm sense of connection with the people around her. She realized that community and support were as important as courage and quick thinking. As the day progressed, Clara took Silver for a slow ride through the familiar fields. She moved carefully, watching every movement and sound. The morning's tension had faded, but she remained cautious. She thought about how vulnerable life could be, and how easily the peaceful rhythm of her days could be disrupted. But instead of fear, Clara felt determination. She knew that Silver was not only a companion but also a responsibility, and she had to protect him. The ride became a quiet meditation, a time for her to reflect on what had happened and to reinforce her bond with Silver. During the ride, Clara noticed that the fields seemed brighter and more alive than ever. The sun illuminated the dew on the grass, and birds sang from the trees. It struck her that life could still be beautiful, even after frightening experiences. She realized that courage was not just about facing danger, but also about appreciating the ordinary moments, the calm and peaceful times that made life worth protecting. She spoke softly to Silver, telling him about her thoughts. Silver nickered in response, his gentle eyes reflecting trust and understanding. Clara felt a profound sense of gratitude for their companionship. Back at the stable, Clara spent time reinforcing security measures. She repaired any weak spots in the fences, checked the locks, and placed small barriers to make it difficult for anyone to approach unnoticed. She thought carefully about how she could prevent similar situations in the future. Every action was deliberate, and she felt empowered by her ability to take control. The events of the previous day had shown her that danger could arrive without warning, but preparation, vigilance, and courage could make all the difference. Later, neighbors stopped by to offer their support. Some brought small gifts, while others simply stayed to chat and offer words of encouragement. Clara was touched by their kindness and realized how lucky she was to live in a community that cared. The experience had not only tested her bravery but also strengthened her connections with others. She learned that asking for help or accepting it when offered was not a sign of weakness but of wisdom. Even the cowboy, Jake, visited one last time to ensure that everything was secure. He shared some final tips and reassured Clara that Silver was safe. That evening, Clara sat quietly in the stable, brushing Silver's coat and reflecting on the events that had unfolded. She thought about the intruders, about how quickly they had appeared and how easily they could have caused harm. Yet she also thought about Jake, about the neighbors, and about her own courage. As she realized that bravery could take many forms. The bravery to act in a moment of crisis, the bravery to protect someone you love, and the bravery to continue living fully even after fear. Clara felt a deep sense of accomplishment and peace. She had faced danger, protected Silver, and emerged stronger. Clara also reflected on the lessons she had learned about trust. She trusted Silver to stay calm and respond to her guidance. She trusted Jake to arrive and intervene at the right moment. She trusted her neighbors to support her and help her maintain safety. That trust, she realized, was invaluable. It was the kind of trust that created bonds between humans and animals, between friends, and within a community. It reminded her that courage alone was not always enough. Trust and support were equally important in navigating the uncertainties of life. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, Clara prepared Silver for sleep. She made sure he was comfortable, with fresh water and feed, and checked the stable one last time. The quiet of the evening was soothing, a stark contrast to the chaos of the previous morning. Clara felt a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. They had survived a frightening situation, and life was returning to its peaceful rhythm. She patted Silver gently, whispering, "We did it, boy. We're safe now." Silver rested his head against her shoulder, and Clara smiled, feeling the deep bond they shared. The next few days passed without incident, but Clara remained vigilant. She continued to secure the stable, check the fences, and keep a careful eye on the surrounding area. She knew that being prepared was not a one-time action, but a continuous effort. Her awareness and caution became part of her daily routine, a quiet reminder of the events that had tested her courage and quick thinking. She found that this vigilance did not make her anxious. Instead, it made her feel empowered. She was ready for whatever might come, confident in her ability to protect Silver and herself. Over time, the story of the attempted theft spread throughout the town. People admired Clara for her bravery and her quick thinking. They praised her ability to remain calm under pressure and to protect Silver in a dangerous situation. Clara felt a mix of pride and humility. She knew that luck, preparation, and help from Jake had played a role in their safety, but she also recognized her own courage. The experience had shown her strength she hadn't realized she possessed. It was a reminder that even ordinary people could rise to extraordinary challenges when necessary. Clara also thought about Jake, the cowboy who had saved them. She felt grateful for his presence and guidance. He had arrived at the perfect moment, But he had also recognized her capability and encouraged it. Clara realized that true courage sometimes involves helping others find their strength, not just taking action yourself. Jake's intervention had protected them, but it had also affirmed Clara's own bravery and resourcefulness. She felt the deep sense of gratitude for the lesson he had taught her. By the end of the week, Clara and Silver were back into their routine. They rode through the fields, enjoyed the quiet mornings, and tended to the stable. Life had returned to normal, but Clara carried with her the lessons of the past few days. She had learned the importance of vigilance, courage, and trust. She had discovered the strength in herself and the bond with Silver. And she had experienced the kindness and bravery of others, which reminded her that she was not alone in facing the challenges of life.
As she watched the sun rise over the fields, one morning, Clara felt a sense of peace and readiness.
She knew that danger could appear at any time, but she also knew that she had the strength, the skill, and the support to face it. Silver nickered softly, sensing her calm and determination. Clara smiled, brushing his mane gently. "We're ready, boy. Psst. Whatever comes, we'll face it together."
The bond between them had grown even stronger through the trials of the past week.
It was a bond built on trust, courage, and love. A bond that nothing could break. Clara understood that life was fragile and that each moment was precious. She thought about the intruders, about how easily things could have gone wrong, and about how courage, quick thinking, and support had saved the day. Rest. She knew that she would always remember the lessons learned. To stay alert, to trust her instincts, to protect those she loved, and to appreciate the kindness of others. These were lessons that went beyond the events of one morning. They were lessons that would guide her for the rest of her life. As the sun set on the small town, Clara stood at the edge of the field, watching Silver graze in the golden light. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for their safety, for the people who had helped, and for the courage that had carried them through. She knew that the memory of the day's events would remain with her forever, a reminder of the power of bravery, trust, and friendship. And she also knew that no matter what challenges came next, she and Silver would face them together, strong and united. In the quiet of the evening, Clara whispered to Silver, "We've been through a lot, but we made it. And we'll be okay, no matter what." Silver nickered softly in response, resting his head against her shoulder. Clara smiled, feeling the peace and comfort of their companionship. The danger had passed, the intruders were gone, and the bond between human and horse had been strengthened. Life in the town returned to its gentle rhythm, and Clara knew she was ready for whatever the future might bring.